Man, what a mess. Artemis Fowl indeed. I went into this movie with some interest. I have no knowledge of the Artemis Fowl book series, and I can safely say that after seeing this movie, that I still have no knowledge of the Artemis Fowl book series. After researching the book on Wikipedia, I can also safely say that neither do the writers of this movie. Artemis Fowl is supposed to be a series on a 12-year-old prodigy who runs a criminal empire that has run-ins with the underground. And when I say underground, I literally mean under the ground. Inside the earth is a fairy realm with goblins, dwarves, gnomes, elves, leprechauns, and fairies. They have a very modern tech mixed with magic and keep hidden from the human world. Because reasons. Artemis, is introduced as knowing everything. We do this by having a 5-minute discussion with the school psychologist who Artemis makes a fool out of, combined with a lot of exposition. Then he gets home, where Colin Farrell has his contractually obligated scene with the star. Good start to make your lead utterly unlikable from the get-go. Artemis Fowl lives with his father, played by Colin Farrell in what amounts to mostly a glorified cameo. He's kidnapped, but everyone thinks he's a criminal mastermind instead of an antiquities dealer because of the kidnapping, I guess? I really don't know. I don't know why all of a sudden he's a criminal mastermind, and I'm not clear if he is a criminal mastermind or if they just think he is, or if he's stealing these things. I mean, he seems to be stealing these things to keep him out of the human hands, but they don't really tell us. So the next day, Artemis wakes up to find out all this, though how the media jumped from he's kidnapped to criminal speculation is anyone's guess. It's not clear why all of a sudden he's implicated in this series of crimes, but we only get an explanation through news reports. As far as we can tell, the police never show up at his door to search the place, gather evidence, ask questions, which is weird because pretty much the entire movie takes place in this house, so it's not like they didn't have the time. Then Artemis gets a phone call from the magic kidnapper telling him to bring the Oculus Rift, which I thought was odd because you can get one of those on Amazon pretty reasonably, but wait. Oh, it's Aculos. I'm sorry. I assumed it wasn't a cheap ripoff of a name we all knew, but apparently it is. It's a powerful magic device that's full of the magic called vague enough. As long as what you need is vague enough, it can do it. Though Artemis doesn't know that yet. It's at this point that the diversity butler jumps into action to exposition to Artemis all the things about his father and how he keeps all these artifacts in a hidden basement away from prying eyes. Don Butler, which is his name and not his profession, even though pretty much in this entire movie he's a total Alfred. He shows Artemis the secret room his father kept a ton of this fairy stuff that he had gathered in order to keep the fairies hidden. But he doesn't know where this Aculus is. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the fairy nation or land or city, who gives a shit. And it's got some kind of police force led by Judi Dench, who between this and Cats makes me wonder if she's low on cash or a victim of blackmail scheme. She growls her way through the dialogue and she looks like she's actually the 846 years old the character is supposed to be. Seriously, Judy, if you're being coerced, blink something, code or something. So we meet Holly Short. Yeah, that abruptly. Get used to that. This movie does things very abruptly. See, you don't need to figure out how to make a scene flow into the next if you just have Josh Gad narrating the whole thing. So this Holly is a part of the Lower Elements Police Reconnaissance Force, or the LEP Recon, or LEP Recon. Maybe this is in the book, I don't know, but it comes across in the movie as stupid. So, we meet the fairy Holly Short, who is looking for her father. But they won't let her look for her father and go up to the real world yet, or the human world. They have to know where to find this Aculos as well. Seems like this thing has been missing for a while, but I guess it's now a big deal. We're told it's the worst thing in the world that can happen in this world if humans found out fairies exist. Like, it's the worst thing that can happen and will probably destroy either theirs or our world. Remember that. It's the worst thing that can happen. Not clear why, but we just can't open up relations, but no. In the meantime, a troll breaks loose into our world, and so immediately in the next scene, after saying that she can't go into our world, she goes into our world. They stuff her in a big metal suppository and she gets pooped out of Europe's butthole. It takes her a bit of time to get to the surface, just enough for the expository dialogue of how Holly's father was the one who stole the Aculos, and so now, back to Fowl Manor, where Don Butler now needs to bring in his big guns. His diverse niece, who's also amazing at everything and is also 12, so her big move in this movie is to ask a lot of questions of Artemis and bring lunch to a prisoner and Artemis. It's not patronizing or insulting at all. So Artemis finds that a fairy would periodically visit a tree that's close by, so they decide to stake it out. Why they decide this is a good plan when time is of the essence is completely beyond me. He has his father's artifacts and tons of information. The best he can come up with is to stare at this tree and hope a fairy happens to come along. And how long is periodically? Well, if this fairy only comes every half decade or so, what if the fairy died? What if they won the fairy lottery and now living it up in Fairy Vegas? I'm getting a headache. So back to Holly, who at this point goes flying through the middle of an Italian village as blatant as you could be, even though she was told to be invisible. A troll attacks a typical Italian wedding and makes a real mess of things. Holly takes the time out to use the magic on a little girl because she's hurt. As she says that, the troll is throwing full-grown men through tables and walls because they aren't cute little girls, so fuck them. Then they time freeze everyone and do a MIB-style mind wipe on everybody. Of course, the fairies don't clean up anything, so everyone at this wedding, as far as they know, have just been bombed by a very belated ally attack trying to get Mussolini. I mean, one minute they're having a party and next minute, boom, everything's destroyed. I mean, if they can magic this time freeze and then magically heal everyone and then move at super speed through everything, why not fix everything up so that you don't leave a whole bunch of people scratching their heads wondering what the hell just happened? Remember that episode of Star Trek The Next Generation when the Enterprise found themselves knocked out. All the crew was knocked unconscious, and they wake up and they find data telling them that they lost a few hours or a few minutes, and then the episode goes on. They keep finding these little clues that says, no, they were out a lot longer, and maybe they were not out. Worf had a broken arm that had to be treated. Some plants had a couple of days worth of growth, and there was all these little things that they knew that finally the mystery blows right open. Well, imagine if they woke up and the entire bridge was wrecked and Data said, yeah, it's just one of those things. Let's move on. Nothing to see here. Remember in MIB International? Oh God, I'm using this as a reference for a logical problem. You remember when Tessa Thompson was a little girl and she saw an alien and then she became obsessed with discovering the MIB, which she finally did? Yeah, no need to make this mysteriously wrecked wedding your obsession and your life's work until you uncover the entire fairy world. Little girl, it's just a wild party. I'm sure that not cleaning these things up on these little incidences will never have any future repercussions. I mean, seriously, were they not found out by now? How? And by the way, the whole fairy kingdom is like super technological. Holly has like this heads-up display in her visor, and there's all kinds of laser guns and time devices. One of the things I really liked about the Harry Potter world was how people who had little or no exposure to the human world had no use or understanding of our technology. Granted, it was a bit inconsistent, but you had magic to solve problems. Why would you come up with a technological way to solve the problem? It's already solved. That's why we have technology to solve problems, because we don't have magic. But here it's nonsensical. Getting back to the story, Holly decides at that moment to go to the tree that Artemis is staking out. What luck! It was a completely random and odd choice that just needed to move the story. She's looking for her father because it was her father's last known location, but Artemis's detective work leads us to believe that a female fairy who visits there, and for completely unrelated reasons. So what luck for him, huh? They capture Holly and they hold her hostage to get some information about the Aculos. And at this point, the rest of the movie just takes place in the house. The entire fairy army shows up because, that's how you keep things discreet. Send your entire force, along with transports and vehicles and flying shit and whatnot, to get your one officer back. And by the way, you as a fairy are not allowed to actually enter the house. It's kind of like the vampire thing, unless you're invited or you're a guest or something. Holly, in the meanwhile, tries to use her fairy magic with her eyes to mind control them, but Artemis has on sunglasses, so no dice. That's right. Mind control magic can be defeated with a pair of Central American Ray-Ban knockoffs. But it doesn't really matter anyway, because with no character building, no relationship building, and no nothing, Artemis just asks Holly if he can trust her, and she says yes, and they start to work together. He takes off the glasses, and she doesn't try to mind control him anymore. Ooh, that's nice. That's this whole damn movie. Things move from one moment to another, and one scene to the next, but there's no connecting tissue, no reason why people change their attitudes. The fairies then bring in the troll, and they use him like a battering ram, and they send him in to, kill Artemis, I guess. I really don't know. The troll isn't very discriminate, so if he ran across Holly, it would kill her too. It's like rescuing the hostages by napalming the building. So this goes on for a while, but finally they defeat the troll. But Dom, the butler, remember him? He gets mortally crushed. Now, I gotta admit, the actor does do a pretty good job with the scene, and I think, okay, maybe something's happening here. Maybe some loss will happen to this smug 12-year-old and knock him down a peg. Maybe he'll... Oh, they healed him. He's fine now.
You're back! Holly brought you back!
So the fairies get Josh Gad, the giant dwarf, to dig his way into the manor, where he can get the Oculus. Yeah, apparently it was in the manor the whole time, but only Gad, or a magical being, can find it. So he begins to dig, and oh my god!
It's feeding time.
Yeah, he eats dirt, and then it immediately shoots out his butt. Tell me something, Disney Plus. Why are you giving me this, but CGIing hair on Daryl Hannah's butt? Please help me understand this. I don't understand this. It makes no sense. Josh, Mr. Gad, I gotta tell you, this is not going to be fondly remembered. This is not your Goonies. So he gets in, he finds the safe with the Oculus, and then he's on Artemis's side for reasons. And then they use the magic egg thing, the Oculus, to get the father back. And then he's a criminal mastermind now. The kid, or the father. I don't know. I honestly, I'm not sure what happened to all the charges, or the police looking for his father. Maybe they had the blue flu. You know what I mean. You know what's going on. Do we find out who kidnapped the father, by the way? No? Is there a comeuppance or a satisfying conclusion? No. Well, at least the special effects were good, right? No. This movie was complete garbage, and I can't believe money was spent on it. I haven't read the books, but from what I gathered from the Wikipedia and from the fans, I would imagine that the fans of the book feel like Avatar: The Last Airbender fans felt 10 years ago. They got avatared. So there you go. I give it 1 out of 5 because it went straight to Disney Plus and I didn't have to pay for it. If you like that video, we have more. Come on, give us a like and a subscribe. We're not above begging. And for your latest movie, your streaming, and comic news, come over to lastmovieoutpost.com. You can find us here on Twitter, and you can find me here on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook over here. Come on down to Last Movie Outpost. We're a dying breed. We just want to watch a good movie.